Fiend, Machine, and Warriors. That's how we're going to break this card, because remember, mathematicians don't gamble, they calculate. Hello, and we've got a great one. Today we're going over why mathematicians are loving this card. What card is this? Metaltronus. Well, what is Metaltronus, and why do statisticians love it? Well, statisticians love it because one of the first things we're taught is mean, median, and mode. Statistics 101, right? Real quick, the mean is just the average of a set of data. The median is the exact middle number in a series of data, and the mode is the number that pops up the most, right? So in this series of data, that's the mean, median, and mode. But what does this have to do with Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Why do statisticians love this, and how does this have to do with Yu-Gi-Oh? Well, one of the things statisticians always ask is, what's the point of mode? Why do we need mode? Well, Yu-Gi-Oh has a card that made mode important. It's like actually using the mitochondria as the powerhouse of the cell. Finally, I can use my college and law school stuff to do something fun. Real quick, here's the effect of Metaltronus. For those of you that might have a bad eyesight or just need to see the card a little bit better, this is what it does. It's a lot of text. You don't need to worry about that. Well, I'm going to explain it nice and easy. Basically, if your opponent has a card, right, and they want to use an effect, on quick effect, what we can do is target that card. They can't activate that card in response, by the way. That targeted monster effects, they can't activate in response. So if this Cyberstein had a quick effect, they can't even activate in response. So in a way, it's like a power crept imperm. That's really cool. Anyways, and what we can do is we can summon our own monster from our deck, extra deck, or hand. Uncle Pete's house, it's going to come from wherever you want it. Basically, it just can't come from the banished zone or the graveyard, but it's coming from anywhere. It's going to come from your mom's house. But what I'm going to use is I'm going to summon this Jedi Alec Birdman here, and it needs to match 2 of 3 things: type, attribute, and attack. 2 of those need to match. So for example, I can summon Jedi Alex Birdman because look at the dark, they're both dark and they're both machine. So I match 2 out of the 3, and that's the reason why mode is going to become important. So we match 2 of those, and what's going to happen is both of these monsters' effects are now on the field negated, right? So my monster's negated and his monster's negated. So I basically got to summon a free monster, and I got to negate his effects, and he couldn't respond to it, and this is a quick effect card. Very, very cool. And real quick, what happens if I was to summon something that exactly matched the name, right? If I had the same card in my deck, and if we both match the name, you have the option to banish both of them face down, buddy. Boom, face down. And so yeah, that's really cool. Now let's go into why mode is so important, because we need to put cards in our deck and extra deck that's going to match. And we need to know then in the card pool how to match. And so we're going to use mode. To do that, we need to know of all of the cards in the Yu-Gi-Oh pool, what are the most common attributes so we know what we can stack our deck with. Well, here I did the work for us, and this is accurate up to basically January 2025, because I looked into a little bit of the future of some of the cards coming out. So basically January 2025, this is still relevant. This is the numbers for that. But here's what's cool. Wind, water, and fire, right? These make up about roughly 29% of the entire Yu-Gi-Oh card pool, which means that light, earth, and dark are the other 71%. Now, there's only 6 divine monsters, of course, the Winged Dragon of Rods, other 2 counterparts, Obelisk, and there's about Siskimo, and I think like 1 creator or something like that. And so you don't really need to worry about them. So 29 and 71, which means if we're using Metaltronus, we want to use light, earth, and dark monsters. We really want to stack our deck with those, or extra deck, right? And we're only really need to focus on fire, wind, and water if they're like meta-relevant cards, like when Baron de Flor is legal, or Appaloosa, for example, also being wind. So there's some big cards for that. But now we know the types or the attributes we need to worry about. Let's talk about the types, right? Well, here we go. Illusion being new here, of course, as you can see, and I made it go from lowest to highest here. And look at this. Some of these results kind of surprised me because I thought there'd be a lot more Cybers, but then I remember that Cybers is relatively new. And take a look at all those machines. I didn't realize how much Machines too also was in the game. Machines taking second place and Warrior being number 1. That also surprised me. I thought it would have been Dragon or Spellcaster, right? Dark Magician and Blue Eyes. So taking a look at this data here, we now know that we need to use probably a lot of these cards right here, right? We'll need to make sure definitely that we stack our deck at least with these attributes, because again, this is the mode. These are the cards that pop up the most. That's why we love it, statisticians. We love it. Einstein, let's go. Finally, we can use our math. Anyway, so I'm getting excited, maybe super excited, especially because I get to do these graphs and stuff. And now maybe, you know, we don't really need to put that many Illusion or Sea Serpent. You might be like, Jesse, wait, why is there only 5 Divine Beasts when you had 6 Divine Monsters? Well, funny enough, one of the Divine Beast monsters, or one of the Divine attributes, is not a Divine Beast. Very interesting. I think it's the like Holastis, because it's actually considered a creator or something like that. Anyways, so fun little tip there. But anyways, so we need to at least carry once Fairy, Spellcaster, Dragon, Fiend, Machine, and Warrior, right? And then maybe these if they're meta relevant. And we'll go more into that also. And also one more thing too we have to note, right? I did see like the most of those, and we could combine them with the most of the attributes, right? But there's some things here that's called a supermajority, a minority majority, and that's going to take about half, right? And the best way to explain it is, well, take a look at this. Even though dark was the most, right, before for attributes, and light and dark were like the most, and earth, well, Sea Serpent isn't going to have light, dark, and earth be the majority. Actually, it's a supermajority of water attribute in that type. So this is a very interesting chart to look at here too, to find out, again, a supermajority basically is more than 75% of that attribute belongs to that category. So basically, if there was a battle royale of all of that types in attributes in a wrestling ring or something like that, so let's take fish, for example. The majority of them are water, 130 of them out of 142. That basically means that, of course, the water fish are going to win. A minority majority means kind of the other way around. Let's take a look at, let's just say Cybers, for example. Cybers has the majority of 75 dark, but it's also got a bunch of water Cybers, right? Marincess. It's going to have a bunch of earth Cyber, a bunch of light Cybers. So it's the majority, but it's very much the minority majority. And then half means that it's just basically roughly around like 40 to 60% majority. It's a majority, but and it's got about half of them. So like zombie, for example, about half of the zombies are dark. You know, another good amount of zombies are probably earth, and some of them might be light or something like that, or fire zombies, right? So, but the majority of them are dark. So this is just a good graph to look at, as well as we talk about supermajority, because even though now we know the mode of like dark dragon was really good, we need to also know that the dark dragon, there's also, it's a minority majority there. Or if they're running fiends, that look at about half of the fiends, a little bit more, like, so probably like 60% of them here are dark, which is really interesting. And just in case, let's say pyro becomes meta, well, of course we need to keep some fire attributes in there. So that's just something really fun, interesting to look at. And real quick, by the way, I do want to say something. This stuff that I'm doing here, a lot of people like to hoard the information, or they charge money for the information. Like, oh, yeah, I want the money. No, I don't do that. I presented this stuff completely for free, and I encourage you not only to copy my homework, but to improve on it, right? That's why I show this to us in the Yu-Gi-Oh community. All I ask in return is, if you like this and you are a fellow math enthusiast, or if this helps you in any way possible, just give me a like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. It goes a long way. Anyways, let's continue with more stats and statistics, because I've got one more thing to show you here. And of course, that's the attack graph. The attack graph, we need to know, of all the monsters here, what attacks numbers comes up the most, because that's something also too we can use the mode in when we're using Metaltronus, right? Because remember, we have to match 2 of the 3. Type, attribute, and attack. So of course here we can see here that I have the attacks going from 0 all the way up to 4,000. Of course, I don't keep track of like the weird numbers, right? There's some monsters with like, I have 1,810 attack or something weird like that. We don't need to worry about that because there's only like one of them. So I've got here all the big significant numbers. And also I have a nice trend line here. This trend line basically means it sets the trend. And why is that important? Well, because as the numbers go up, that also simulates something important. The bigger numbers are actually boss monsters, and those need to get more consideration. A little bit, meaning more weight needs to get put on this side than this side. So that's why there's a trend line graph, because 3,000, although there's only 315 of them, we're going to want to negate those monsters because those are generally boss monsters, right? But another interesting thing about the statistic is, look at all the zeros there are. I didn't know how many monsters in this game had 0 attack. So we're going to definitely make sure we want to include some monsters with 0 attack in our decks as we use Metaltronus. And so basically, if it's over this line by a significant amount, those are the numbers we need to seriously consider. So 0, 1,000, 1,500, 600, 1,800, 2,000, 24, 25, 28, and 3,000, I think are the big guys. Those are the big head honcho numbers that we're going to want to incorporate. Now, let's move on. How do we piece this all together? How do we just take what we learned? Well, we know we're going to want to use cards with Metaltronus that are exact metal match. We're going to want to hit the mode of most of the cards. We're going to want to hit cards. Remember, our cards are negated. We're going to want cards with good floating effects. We're going to want monsters that aren't going to clog our deck or extra deck, right? We still want them to be valuable monsters. We want them to also be maybe commonly used staples that can help too, right? Help fulfill some conditions. And finally, we want them to have good graveyard effects. I think if you can find monsters that hit 2 or 3 out of these 6 categories, it's a great fit for a Metaltronus candidate. And what do I mean by that, right? Well, sometimes the best way to show an example is to show the worst example. So again, let's look at these 2 cards right here, Fish Lamp and Transcendosaurus Glaciosaurus, right? Well, Fish Lamp is a fire fish with 1,200 attack. I think it's the only fire fish in the game, so it's obviously a horrible candidate for Metaltronus. We don't want to keep that in our extra deck because it's never going to summon anything. It's going to have to rely on maybe a fire monster with 1,200 attack, which again wasn't significant in the attack chart. Same thing with Transcendosaurus Glaciosaurus. How many water dinosaurs are there in the game? None. So these are awful cards to consider. And we're going to go over some good cards. Also, 3,600 attack wasn't a good attack number to have. So a dinosaur with 3,600 attack, there's not going to be that many. And a water monster with 3,600 attack, not good. So these are bad candidates for Metaltronus. And that's why I want to go over bad candidates before I go over really good candidates. And here's like a premier great candidate, right? So let's take a look. Bestial Druid Swarm. Oh, why is that so good? Well, look at that. It hits the modes of most cards, right? It's a dragon. It's dark, right? Those were the things at the top, and also 2,500. And also, it has a great floating effect too. So, if remember, its effect on field is negated, but if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you could target a special summon monster your opponent controls, send it to the graveyard. So now, with this Bestial Druid Swarm, that's also a great card naturally in our deck. We're getting a great graveyard effect, right? A good floating effect, I mean. So if it gets sent to the graveyard, we now go 2 for 1 positive with Metaltronus. Not only we got a body, but when it goes to the graveyard now, that's 3 for 1, because now we could send a special summon monster opponent controls, send that to the graveyard. So not only do we get to negate their effects, boom, that's value there. We got to get a body with it, and we got a great floating effect. That's basically impermanence on steroids, and that's how it's so good. Now let's go over some other things too, right? Look at these staples here, right? These staples, you're going to use these cards pretty much in your deck. Nibiru being a light 3,000. How great is that number, right? A light 3,000. Sure, it's rock, but maybe the light 3,000 is going to be very good. And it's a 3,000 attack beat stick. Remember, 0 was the most popular number. We've got a light spellcaster. It's also a tuner, right? That could come out. And so Effect Veiler, very, very good. And Underworld Goddess, you should always have this in your deck, especially if your deck struggles to deal with unaffected monsters. It's a Fiend 3,000. Again, another light 3,000, right? These are commonly used staples. You might want to have something like these in your deck, right? What about maybe your deck specializes another thing? It's a graveyard deck, you know, and it loves to send things to the graveyard. Well, Absolute King Backjack, Electromagnetic Turtle, right? Again, Machine 0, Light 0, Machine Light, Dark Fiend, Fiend 0, you bell anyone, right? Fiend 0. If you use it, if you're playing Labyrinth, let's say you're probably going to have an Absolute King Backjack in that deck, so Metaltronus will go great there because look, now you have your King Backjack in the graveyard, and that's nice if this card is sent to the graveyard, right? So once Metaltronus does its stuff, and when this card either goes to the graveyard by your opponent, he does something, or on your turn, now it's got some nice graveyard effects. Same thing with Electromagnetic Turtle. You can end the battle phase. So we're getting double the advantage here. This is some cards to consider with Metaltronus, how we're going to get advantage with that. But if we're playing Super Polymerization or Ultimate Slayer, those cards are great for Metaltronus, right? Let's look at those kind of targets. Well, Elder Entity Entis, right? It's a light fairy. It's got that 2500 attack stat line. So good. Fairy 25, light 25. This is a great card when it goes to the graveyard too, because we can target a card on the field, destroy it. That's 3 for 1. Garura, a dark 1500, a nice stat line there. Winged Beast, not that great of a type, but it again, we have the dark 1500, Winged Beast, dark, which is good. But remember, if we got it, we're using it in the deck anyways with Super Polymerization, so that's probably for there, and it could come up, dark 1500, and if it goes to the graveyard, draw a card. So Earth Rock, right? That's if it's going to be rock, I think it was Earth. I believe that was a super majority right there. It's got the 24,000 stat line, Earth 24. Very, very good. It's got a nice graveyard effect. So again, if you're using Ultimate Slayer and Super Polymerization, those are cards that were going to be in your deck anyways, and now you have great Metaltronus targets. What if you're using a specialized deck, right? Like Sangan and Fiends, or Retaliating Sea and Insects. These are great cards because, again, these are monsters that you're already using that weren't going to clog the deck. So, again, let's say you're using a Fiend deck. You're going to probably have Sangan in your deck anyways. Now, when it goes to the graveyard, you get to add... What do you get to add? One monster. Any monster you want with 1500 or less attack from your deck to your hand. Absolutely devastating if you were using this anyways. Same thing with Retaliating Sea and Master Duel. This allows you to add Max Sieve, and it's a floodgate card normally. So it's a great staple card anyways for that. Some people use if a lot of summoning's going on with spell cards. This is a great card to use. So these monsters wouldn't have clogged your deck anyways. Remember, we're trying to fulfill a lot of things here. And they had good floating effects too. So these two monsters hit 2 of those 3 categories. Right? If you're using a Cyberse deck, EMP, Meow Mine, Cyberse, Save Worm, right? That's already going to be in your deck. Again, I'm just hitting, and now I feel like I'm just kicking a horse when it's down. Or what do they call that? Like beating a dead horse or something like that. Here we go. Junk Gardener is a weird card that we could put. But remember, Warrior was the #1. Warrior Earth. That could be something to cover right there if you want to just cover something to put it in your extra deck, right? Because it's not going to clog anything if it's in your extra deck and got space. And if this card's sent from the field to the graveyard, to have a monster and change its battle position. SP Little Knight, we're playing this card anyways. It's a Warrior Dark 1600. Great numbers. Destiny Hero, Dark Warrior. Again, same thing. And a Destiny Hero has a great effect. So these are 3 great warrior cards there, right? So now I want to show you how I was personally using Metaltronus and how I used it in my deck. It's very, very good that we go over this kind of stuff. And really, it's a new month, so I was able to play this on Master Duel. And as I was climbing the ranks, of course, I hit a bunch of win streaks, and Metaltronus came up a lot of times and was the reason why my win streak was so good, especially with the deck I used too, and the staples and everything. I basically took everything I did, and it got me a nice, good win streak for the fresh start of the month, right? It's a nice start of the month. I know you're saying, yeah, these guys are noobs, probably, yeah, because they're just, platinum, diamond, whatever. I might be picking on noobs here, but hey, I got the win streaks. I'm going right up, and Metaltronus is a big reason why. I can report back too. Come into the Discord, ask me if, I'll tell you how it's doing in Masters when I get there, because I'm going to definitely get there nice and easy, like the hair color. Anyways, all right, let's see what we got here. So, I'm going second here, and my hand is not looking pretty good. I do have a nice Metaltronus there, and I'm going against Ritual Beast. Ritual Beasts, by the way, have very weird type and attributes. In fact, it's the wind and beast and all of that stuff that we said do not match what Metaltronus likes, right? These are wind and wind psychic, wind thunder with weird attacks. My Metaltronus might not be good here. This is absolutely devastating. And also, I have a Max C. You guys are probably wondering why I'm not using it. Well, I still like to respect the Psy-Frame Gear Gamma. And I also like to, especially when my hand is not looking so good right now, I want to make sure if I use it, I'm going to be able to get it summoned. So I'm respecting Psy-Frame Gear Gamma, which is why I'm not using Max C here. I am respecting it. He is playing around it. So just in case, I'm just being a little nice, safe, and cautious. He's doing his Ritual Beast things, which is just banishing a lot of cards. And look at that, Pyro Wind. Remember, Pyro Super Majority was Thunder. Anyways, here he goes. He's finally going to special summon on something like a Chain 2. He doesn't have anything to stop it, so I did let him get a lot of work in. And oh, what an awful ad off of Maxi. He's only going to let me draw 2, though, and he's going to stop there. Take a look at this now. Look at this. He's got some awful cards for Metaltronus to work with here. Spiritual Beast, Rampegnu, a Wind Beast, 1600. And we've got a Psychic 3200 attack monster, a Light 3200 attack, a Light Psychic. Oh my god, that's awful. Awful, awful, awful. So Metaltronus is probably dead in the water there. So let's see what good is that. Imperm would be better, right? Because you would think. But again, let's see how this plays out. We're gonna use our nice Prayer of the Voices Force to get started. And oh no, Ritual Beast Ulti Gapelio using his effect to, when I'm doing my fusion to activate it, it's basically gonna banish another Ritual Beast from the hand and negate the activation and destroy my card. Oh no. But again, we have the Metaltronus, and you guys are probably like, wait, Jesse, you're playing Voiceless Voice here. What could you possibly have that matches with this card? Well, I do have something. Remember I told you that we also play staples in our deck, staples that we were gonna use anyways. Now, he's going to combo Maxi. Nothing I could do about it. I Maxi'd him. He's going to Maxi me. That's only fair. Whatever. It's Master Duel. We know the rules, and so do I. Yes, yes, yes. The good old Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. Ghost Ogre is also a light psychic, which is why it's very important when we're playing Metaltronus that we're running cards we were going to use anyways. I love Ghost Ogre right now in this meta too, because again, we can use it against Yubel's back row, Voiceless Voices back row, Tenpai's Field Spell when they try to activate it. Love Ghost Ogre, and it's in my deck anyways, and that's a light psychic. He's a light psychic, so we negate his effect. And now what's very interesting is I have a body on the field too. So this is better than Impermanent. Remember, I had the option too to use this even before I used this card, by the way. I just wanted him to banish another card from his hand to get more hand information. Anyways, because I knew I would be able to play through this. So what's really interesting is Ghost Ogre Snow Rabbit. Now I have a negated card, but it's a level 3 tuner. So while I do my Voiceless Voice plays, I can consider maybe even making a Herald of the Arc Light, right? I can consider making some different kinds of cards. This is opening up a lot of avenues if I wanted to play it, right? I'll sacrifice there, attribute that to special summon out more Voiceless Voice plays here. I love Sir Arvis, one of my loved cards right now in the current meta. And look, a 3 and a 7. I can make a Baron de Flor if I wanted to, but I don't want to do that, and I actually just want to let it chill because I want to let the Voiceless Voice play out. I think that's the best option here, and I'll keep the body for now. And so, again, we have an extra body, too. If I wanted to go into some link plays, maybe I could have done that. But let's speed this up now because we saw what Metaltronus did for me there. And he's going to go now try to do some special summoning. And, oh my gosh, you can see I was saving my... Here's another thing, too. I don't like to blow my load on... Or use my effects blow my load. On some, you know, keep all my eggs in one basket. I'm glad I saved my negate there for the Book of Eclipse because that would have turned all my stuff face down. That would have been deadly. But what's interesting is that if my cards went face down, wouldn't have been the end of the day because when Ghost Ogre flips back up, I can now use his effect. Anyways, he special summoned right there, so I'm going to make sure I use Sir Arvis to get rid of that. He did the contact fuse, and that's what Sir Arvis is good for. That's why I brought him out there. and why I didn't want to make any kind of synchro 10s or save my cards, really. So we're going to get rid of that. And yeah, I think Ritual Beast is pretty much going to be running on fumes here. I am under Max C, so maybe I shouldn't be cooking this much, but I do want to re-get out Suarvis again because he's so good against the Ritual Beast. I'm going to get called by the grave, but that allows me. Now, this is probably a little bit greedy on my part. I'm going to go for the second Suarvis of Ancient Ascended because, again, these cards, Suarvis is not a hard once per turn, actually. I can continuously use its effects as many times as I have a Suarvis, but he had a second Book of Eclipse, and that's going to turn all my guys face down. And so now he's going to get to do his Ritual Beast plays. He's going to do a lot of crazy stuff here. Let's see where he goes with this. Goes to the battle phase a little early. Maybe he forgot where monsters are. Time is running short for him. He's going to go into Flame Banshee here. But you're going to see he did not make a mistake because, in fact, he's searching for Protoss. And he's going to go into Nemesis, which Nemesis gets him the Nemesis Protoss there. Also SP Little Knight to banish one of my cards that I like to get for recursion. He's going to banish some stuff, destroy. But here's the thing. He didn't finish and clear my board. Book of Eclipse is going to flip over my stuff, draw 2, and he knows that I just have too much at this point, and he's going to tap out like a wrestler because, and a lot of that is thanks to Metaltronus. Very, very great card. All right, so here we go. Here's another replay here. I got Metaltronus nice in my hand. I've got a nice Voiceless Voice hand. I think Voiceless Voice is great with Metaltronus again because of it hits a lot of the mode cards, and it's cards I'm using running anyways. It's got a lot of dark and light cards that I'm using, right? The dragon that I was telling you about, the bestial cards go very, very well with this. So again, it's got a lot of the mode cards. My extra deck, again, I keep it nice and varied to hit a lot of the, again, the modes of whatever kind of deck that I could be facing. The Voiceless Voice is a great card too in this current meta. I think it stacks up very well against Tempai, Yubel, a lot of good things. So I'm using it. Fun fact too, the person that is #1 in Master Duel that came in first, rumor has it he was using a Voiceless Voice deck. So I do think we should use that. And anyway, so we're playing against, by the way, an Abyss Actor. Abyss Actor, again, known for their pendulum summoning and goes into a lot of Abyss Actor things. I'm going to do some negating. The point here, though, is we really want to just focus on the Metaltronus, right? Abyss Actor is going to tie himself up here. I was waiting for him to do that, for me to do Metaltronus. Now, I could have activated Metaltronus first, and even if he had a quick effect, he wouldn't be able to chain this to it. But look at that. Abyss Actor Hyper Director is a Fiend Dark. I make sure I had a Fiend Dark in Chaos Angel. It's a card I was running anyways because a 9 and a 1 make Chaos Angel anyways is a great card to have in these kind of decks. So look at that. He activated this thing. Now I have a free 3,500 body on the field in addition to what I was going to do. And by the way, this is a bait. Remember, my card is negated. Maybe he didn't read Metaltronus because in the all of the interim, but he didn't stop that just in case he did have something like a Ghost Ogre. I wanted to just bait it out. But now he has to contest with another 3,500 body, and Voiceless Voice is going to clean up the rest there. So he taps out because that body was just too big, right? It was like Arnold Schwarzenegger, nice big bodybuilder. He has to tap out, give up, little puny human. Oh, hello, all right. Here's a scenario I wanted to bring up and how I talk about how Metaltronus is a power-crept Infinite Impermanence and why maybe we should be using Metaltronus instead of Infinite Impermanence. Take a look at this scenario I found myself into. I found myself into a little debacle here. The guy had made an XZ's monster, attacked into me, and was able to, and it wasn't dying, and was able to go into the big old Zeus here, and he's able to go into Zeus, the Divine Arsenal Sky Thunder here. Now, what's deadly about Zeus is, for those of you that don't know, he gets to detach 2 materials, send all other cards from the field to the graveyard. Oh no, that's devastating. I cannot let that go through. I was saving my negates for just this very effect. So, he uses this effect to send all other cards to the graveyard. Well, here I have my Infinite Impermanence, so if I use that, he's gonna get to do it again, and then now I have to use my Skull Protector, so now he gets both negates, because I need to stop this effect from going through, otherwise he's gonna clear my board. Absolutely devastating. Now, what's great about Metaltronus is, remember, Infinite Impermanence he can chain this to this. If I had Metaltronus instead, which I think now is the superior card, maybe we should consider using instead of Infinite Impermanence. Remember, he cannot activate the card in response to the card effect. So it would save my Skull Guardian Protector's negate. He wouldn't have been able to activate it again twice. So let's see. He's going to activate the card, and then now I'm going to target the Zeus. Now he gets to activate it again. He gets to rechain it, but oh no, what's this? I'm not even safe. This is a fairy deck I was going up against, and he could send this card, another fairy monster, to negate one of my traps and destroy it. Oh no. Well, I do have this, the second negate, so I have to use that there. And he's just gonna now combo that, and there's nothing I could do. Again, if I had Metaltronus, he wouldn't have been able to activate it, and oh, Zeus clears my board, leaving me with absolutely nothing left. I negate that, but at what cost? He's got he's got the Zeus on field, but at least because he removed a card, Voice excels at coming back with a little bit of nice stuff there. He's got Drytron. I'm going against this deadly fairy deck. Oh no. And what's he gonna do to me now? He gets free reign. He gets to do everything I want. All of this could have been avoided earlier too, by the way, if that, instead of that being an Imperm, that was a nice if it was a nice Metaltronus instead of Imperm. So this game, I don't have that because I run 2 Metaltronus, 1 Imperm, just because I don't have enough UR dust right now. I'm saving up for the new pack. So I am running 2 Metaltronus right now, and that 1 Imperm is going to cost me the game now. It might cost me my win streak. And he's still comboing off. He's like you ever play that Tony Hawk's Pro Skater? The people that just combo and do the moves right into another. They just keep chaining their moves one after another. Well, that's what he's doing. And look at that. He's got a Deadly Omni Negate, Herald of Perfection, plus these deadly cards here. I do have a decent card. Some cards here. What are my outs here? Oh, man. He could keep negating everything I have. Well, I'm going to start by using Saphira Queen Dragon. Let's see if I can bait anything out here. He lets it go through. He's not falling for the bait. I'm gonna use Diviner. Does he bait that? Well, now he didn't stop Diviner there, so maybe that was a mistake by him, because now I get to use this Elder Entity Entis, and he has to negate that. And so he's got to use one of the things. And another thing I could do is I could use Trias Hierarchia to tribute my Diviner of the Herald. And when Herald is tributed, I get to summon a Low. Now, Low's going to get to do a nice little effect here. I get to add some stuff here. And this is all because, and what's going on too is, you might say, why didn't he negate that? Because he was saving the negate for my Saphira. Remember, I sent the Saphira early in the turn to the graveyard so I can do a ritual summon. That's what he was saving it for, but it's too late. You waited too long. And by the way, 9 + 1 = 10. Chaos Angel, I used him before. This is a card I use, and here you go. I'm gonna tell you goodbye, and that's what he was saving the negate for. I'm gonna get to go special summon another card back, and finally, now that you have that, I can use my Saphira, special summon something out. Because I special summoned a monster that's a ritual, I get to summon my Low back, and it's all down here from there. So even though that wasn't Impermanent Metaltronus, I still figured out how to claw my way back, baby, because I am Jesse. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I do. It is what I do, Yugi. I do what I do. So here is the deck I was using. Again, a lot of light fairies I had here, the dark dragons, right, to fulfill the modes. And as you saw, I even running the staples right there, some staple cards there. Maybe I should put in 1 Ash Blossom too to get a little bit more coverage, but these were the staple cards I was using. And the extra deck, that was the key here. Voiceless Voice, I never go into my extra deck really, so a bunch of these cards are all set up for Metaltronus or for various other uses. You know, of course, Herald will send some fairies to the graveyard too, so I get some nice effects that way. But all in all, I think I had a situation for almost everything is covered in this, right? I'm even running some Charmers here because the Charmers are, again, light and dark spellcasters, which was some coverage I need. So I have some light dark spellcaster coverage. And yes, you can see here I've coverage for almost anything that you can imagine. What am I not covering is maybe the question we need to ask. But with that said, what am I missing? What did I miss? Maybe is there a card that is super good with Metaltronus that I missed that I didn't highlight? Like Black Metal Dragon and Dragons, for example, or Goblin Zombie and Zombies, right? These are more archetype specific, so that's why I didn't really mention them earlier, but I just wanted to show you that, yeah, I'm aware of some of these cards. In fact, there's a lot of good cards like that. Resonance Insect and Insects, of course, is going to be a great card. Earth 1000, right? But I didn't mention these cards particularly because they're only really good in the archetype that plays it, right? And some cards I didn't mention, you guys might be like, whoa, you missed this card. But again, it's like the Fish Lamp. It just didn't have good things. Like, let's take this Metal Foals Ori Calc, for example. It's a Fire Psychic, not many of those, or Psychic 28, not many of those, Fire 28, not many of those. It's got a great graveyard floating effect. If it's sent from the field to the graveyard, target a card on the field, destroy it. But I'm not putting it in my deck because, again, it didn't hit a lot of the mode. And the mode is what the statisticians love. I just showed you the data on it. We know now what we need to look for and the cards we need to look for. So anyways, I hope you liked this video. Let me know in the comments below what I missed, or if you're going to use Metaltronus, let me know the success you're having with it. It's like basically Impermanent Crossout had a baby and it got supercharged. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.